Exercise 38 gives us a scenario where we are moving some of our belongings into a storage facility. And so it doesn't really give us a word problem, it actually gives us more of a picture problem than anything else. Because what I see here is that my storage facility that is being referred to has a height of 12.5 feet. So my storage facility has a height of 12.5 feet, and then I'm putting in these boxes that are 27 inches high. So the first part of this question wants me to identify an inequality that represents the number x of boxes that you can stack vertically in the storage unit. So let's break that down a little bit. Identify an inequality. So an inequality is anything that has an expression on both sides and then a comparison symbol in the middle. So that's greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. And all of these have that, so we are good on that part. We don't necessarily need to have understood what an inequality is. It's already being provided for us. That represents the number x of boxes. So x represents what? X represents boxes that you can stack vertically in the storage unit. We also need to know what this word vertically means. So vertically, what that's referring to, and you could probably gauge that from the picture, is to stack on top of one another. So how many boxes can we stack on one another, each being 27 inches, so that they fit nicely into our storage facility? And it's important to know vertically, because if you don't know what vertically means, and you think horizontally, that's side by side, then you're going to end up getting the wrong answer. So just know that vertically means up and down, while horizontally would be side to side. And now, looking at our four options here, let's break down those options. They all have a 27x. Well, what does 27 represent? 27 represents the height of a box. So 27 represents the height of a single box, And so if 27 represents the height of a single box, why are we multiplying it by x on all of these? We're multiplying all of these by x. Well, that x, like we talked about, represents the number of boxes that we have, And so the reason we're multiplying 27, the height of a box, by the number of boxes is because 27 times x, the number of boxes, equals our total height of the boxes stacked. So let me just repeat all that for you. We have 27, that represents in inches the height of a single box, and we're multiplying it by x. X represents the number of boxes, and multiplying 27 inches by the number of boxes is going to give us our total height, and I also want to put it in inches. And then we have to choose, do we want that to be greater than or equal to, or do we want it to be less than or equal to 150 or 12.5? Well, this is a little tricky because it's easy to think that we want this to be set to 12.5 because that's the value that was given. We were given that the storage facility is 12.5 feet. However, there's an issue with that because the units are not the same. So 12.5 feet is different from 27 inches. Notice the emphasis on the feet versus inches. And so we need to convert those feet into inches so that we can have the same units. And that becomes really important when we are going to be solving for the inequality. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. But recognize that you're going to need to turn those 12.5 feet into inches by multiplying it by 12, because there is 12 inches per foot, and so that's going to give you how many inches it's going to be. And then lastly, we have to decide, we need to decide, is the height, our total height in inches, do we want that to be greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to the height of the storage facility in inches? Well, by now we should recognize that the height of the storage facility is going to be 150 inches. And do we want it to be greater than or equal to, or do we want it to be less than or equal to 150 inches? Well, it makes sense that we would want it to be less than or equal to 150 inches, because if it was greater than 150 inches, that means it would go above the storage facility. We would be stacking, and if we go above it, then we can't fit it the boxes in there vertically anymore. So it has to either be equal to exactly 150. That means there's no space between the box and the ceiling, or it has to be less than 150 inches for the box to fit in there. So that's how you break down this scenario and think through what we need to put in for our inequality. 27 is the height of each box. We're multiplying that by x, the number of boxes. That's going to give us our total height in inches. So we want to convert the 12.5 feet into inches, which is 150 inches. And we want our total height to be less than or equal to 150 inches, the maximum height of the storage facility. All right, moving on to the next part, it asks us to solve the inequality. So we just chose the inequality that represents the situation, and we're being asked to solve for the inequality, and then write the solution in simplest form. So at this point, if you're at this point of the exercises, then if I have 27 times x, the opposite of multiplication is going to be division. So I would need to divide both sides by 27, and that's going to leave me with x is less than or equal to. We don't have to flip the sign. And then we need to put our answer as a mixed number is what it wants, and make sure that it's also in simplest form. So we need to do 150 divided by 27, and then place that answer in simplest form. That would be the solution to the inequality. And then part B asks us, what is the height of 6 boxes stacked vertically? So this is a totally different question from what we've been doing in the last part, but we're still going to use the same information. Each box is a height of 27 inches, and it wants to know what is the height of 6 boxes stacked vertically. And we talked a little bit earlier about how we can determine that height if we multiply the 27 inches times the number of boxes, or times x, will give us our total height in inches. And then the next part of part B asks, how many boxes can stack vertically in the storage unit? So this needs to be a whole number here. So why does that need to be an integer, a whole number? Because you're not going to be stacking part of a box. If I have this limit of my storage facility, I'm not going to stack, and then when I get here to this point, just be like, oh, I'm just going to cut the box in half and only put half of it. I'm just going to stop there, because if not, it's going to hit the ceiling. So this part of your answer needs to be an integer, which is a whole number, and it's going to obviously be a positive whole number because you can't have negative boxes. So hopefully that walks you through how to do this problem without giving you any answers necessarily, except for the first one. But just logic your way through the other one. The part I see people get confused the most is right here in the solution. Just make sure you're putting it as a mixed number in simplest form.